Good afternoon. Today we're going to be playing with one of the standalone stamp sets in the annual catalogue called Enjoy the Rhythm. This one is great for any cards that you want to make for family members who are musical, or you want a card that's not too flowery or pink or pretty. These can be really funky, and you can colour in these images any colour you want. So they're definitely very suitable for cards for all genders. And yeah, who doesn't love a little bit of glam rock on their cards? So this is kind of my inspiration for these cards that I'm going to be sharing with you today. A little bit of glam rock and a little bit of a sparkle, as well as some bright fun colours. So that's our main stamp set that we'll be using. The second stamp set, which we'll be grabbing for the background, is the spiral die. I thought these two went really well together as two standalone stamp sets. I love the pairing. And we're also going to be bringing in some of the deckled rectangles dies to just frame our artwork on our cards. So let me get started. The first thing I want to do is cut a deckled rectangle, but I'm going to alter the shape of it, and I wanted to show you guys how to do this because it's quite easy to do, and I'll need to stand up, so let me do that. If you're here, say hello. If you're watching it either live or the replay, let us know where you're watching from. And let us know what you've been up to today. Have you been crafting in your craft space as opposed to your spacecraft? I don't know, maybe you have been crafting in your spacecraft. But if you have a craft space or a craft room that you have managed to get into today, we'd love to know. We'd love to also maybe see what you've been creating. So you can share that down the bottom at any time. Hi Deb, good to see you. You can share what you've been creating today below. We'd love to see. Okay, so that is one of the deckled rectangle shapes. I'll just show you. It's a small rectangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a square with it. And I'm just going to come in about there. And what I will do, and I'll do it up this end so that you guys can see. I'm just going to put the plate across just this part here, because we only want to cut a square piece. So I'm just going to pop that over like that. We've already cut the main part. We're just going to cut one side. We've cut all the other sides, so we don't need to pop the platform over the whole thing again. I'm just going to run that through, and then we'll end up with a deckled square rather than a deckled rectangle. And it's actually really easy to make these look fairly uniform because they are in fact fairly uneven. So you don't have to cut it absolutely perfectly. So you've got a lot of forgiveness in the jagged edge there, and that's going to just add to the funkiness of our design. You can use this part that you've cut off for your greeting, which I might save to do that because we'll be popping a greeting on this card as well. So let me just pop this to the side. That's all we need. The rest of the card is just using punches, and that is it. So if you're there, say hello. It'd be great to hear from where you're watching from. And there's a couple of people on, so please don't be shy. Come in and say hello. All right, so I'm going to create my background, and I have got my tie-dye background, spiral die background stamp. I'm just going to wash a little bit of this off because I'm using two inks. I'm using two different green inks. One is a dark colour and the other one is a slightly lighter colour. And these ones are a really nice pairing if you're looking for a dark and a light in the bright green. So I'm going to start off with Lemon Lime Twist so that I don't contaminate my next ink pad. This is the lighter colour. This is one of our returning colours that's just come back into our collection. So you just want to dab the Lemon Lime Twist all over the top of that card. That spiral die stamp. Then with the Parakeet Party, I'm just going to open that. I'm just going to very lightly dab in various places, not all over, just give it a little bit of a hint of that darker colour. Then I'm going to get rid of some of that ink. So I'm just going to stamp it onto my scratch paper. Then I will use my basic white piece that I've already cut with the deckled rectangle die into a square. And I'm just going to press that down into the middle. And we end up with a nice subtle background, and you can see some light and shade there with the two different coloured greens, and that's going to make a really nice background. We don't want the background to be too bright on our card. Now, because it's a musical card, I'm going to come in with one of these stamps, which you'll see in the Enjoy the Rhythm stamp set. It's the musical notes, and I'm going to grab the Azure Afternoon. So this is a mix of lemon lime twist, parakeet party, and Azure Afternoon. I'm going to keep stamping this without re-inking, just so you get the feel that there's a little bit of movement. So there is my background. You've got musical notes happening over the top of the spiral die. Bit of collage stamping, that's our technique. Okay, so that will be able to fit on. This is the actual card that I've made. I'm not going to show you the finished product yet, but this will actually sit in the middle of a 10.5 by 10 centimetre card, and you'll see that, it's basically a square, which is perfect for the shape of the card that we want. All right, now we are going to grab some more basic white. Here is my scrap from my previous cutting, and I'm going to use the Memento ink. I'm going to get the drum kit stamp, which is lots of fun. These stamps are actually really detailed, and you only find out how detailed when you start colouring them in with either your blends or your watercolour pencils, or maybe even your Stampin' Write markers. If I hold it up, you'll see that there's quite a lot of shading. There's definitely a lot of detail in that image, and when you add colour to that, it really pops. It pops beautifully. Hi Deb, you've been walking in Kiama this morning and starting to work on a truck card. You've got the new bundle. I haven't got that one yet. It is super cute. It reminds me of, I don't know if you remember the old stamp set, Loads of Love. We used to have that stamp set in our catalogue, and I think I got that one in my starter kit. So that's what the truck reminds me of. I'm a bit sentimental about the truck. It's very cute. Okay, so I want to tie my drum kit into, hi Sue, good to see you. I want to tie it into that background, so I'm going to grab some Stampin' Blends markers. I've got a dark and a light in the Azure Afternoon, and then I've also got a dark and a light in the Smoky Slate. So I'm going to start off with those two. And how I use my blends on this stamp set in particular is I grab the dark one, and I'm going to use the Azure Afternoon to colour in the main part of my drum kit. Now I'm sticking with where those shadow lines are. You'll be able to see them once I've got all the colour on there, because that will appear as like a light grey shading, and I'm just colouring in those sides of the barrels of the drums, if you like. So that's my dark. Here is my light Azure Afternoon. I'm going to use the paintbrush end, the larger end, because we're going over a slightly larger area. I'm just going to float this colour on. These markers are so easy to use, the alcohol markers. They are beautiful, and they make colouring and shading an absolute breeze. You don't have to be an artist. Let the stamp do all the work for you, and let these markers do what they're really good at doing, which is blending over and over the same spot without peeling the cardstock. So you get a really lovely pop of colour inside a lineup. So there is my drum kit so far. I'm going to use the smoky slate for the bits that I imagine are silver on the drum kit. So I've got all of these little stands that are holding everything together. So I'm just dotting the dark grey smoky slate around. Oh, there's a bit that I forgot to colour here. Let me see. I think I might have done a bit that was blue that's not meant to be blue, but that's okay. We can work with that. I do have my other card here as a reference point, but sometimes your original ends up being different to the cards that you make later, but that's okay. It's all good. All right, so there's my dark smoky slate, and now I've got my light smoky slate. I'm sticking with the small end because these little bits here are so small, like they're so narrow, the bits that are meant to be the silver metal. This is how I remember the drum kit at our church. It's got like silver metal bits holding everything together. And there is also, obviously we're going to be grabbing some gold, and I'll show you what I'm going to use for the gold symbols in a second. That's where the bling comes in case you're wondering. So I did say this card was going to have a little bit of bling on it. So there is my grey. Now I'm going to keep colouring. Yeah, so we've actually got a drum that is blue at the front, unlike my original one, but that's okay. It'll tie in beautifully. A little bit here just to finish off the silver. And now for my symbols. As you know, symbols are brass and they are usually gold colour because of that. So to create my gold colour, what I've done is I've got my Wink of Stella. This is our white Wink of Stella. And I'm going to use a little bit of Daffodil Delight. I've squeezed it into the lid already. I'll wipe this out later so I don't get glitter into my Daffodil Delight. But what I'm doing is just grabbing a little bit of that yellow ink just to give it not only a sparkly look, but a gold sparkly look on the symbols. There you go. So there's my lovely shiny symbols. It's just gorgeous. All right. And I might just add a little tiny bit of grey to the top, to the bottom of these drums at the top there. And I'll just add a little bit there. I'm just seeing all these bits that I haven't. You don't have to be absolutely perfect when you're colouring this in, by the way. You can be a little bit rough around the edges, but let me hold that up. So we don't have a die for this, and what you will need to do is trim that, and the best way to do it is using your paper snips. I'm going to just do part of it because I will show you the final card in a second. I would leave about 1 millimetre around and just kind of go around like this, not too close, just around the shape of the drum kit so that when it is on top of the background, it's going to still stand out. So would you like to see the final card? I have 2 cards to show you. Now that you know how I created this, here is my final card. I have actually made 2 little word windows using this punch, the label punch, which is from our annual catalogue. And I have punched out 2 different labels, one in white, one in Azure Afternoon. And I've stamped the Happy Birthday, which is in this set. Such a versatile set, great for guy cards, as I said, guy birthday cards. And yeah, and here is my drum kit. So see how it's slightly different. You've got the grey, the part that you, I think that's the bass drum, that one. So yeah, slightly different, but similar. It still stands out against the background because I've cut around it and just left a little bit of a rim around that image. So that's my first one. My second card is actually slightly bigger, and let me just bring that in. I'm using for this one the electric guitar, so I've got that image on here. Same background, and I just cut out one of those deckled edge rectangles to use as the background. I haven't cut it down to a square, but you guys know how to do that now. And in this one, I've coloured in the guitars using the Parakeet Party blends. And I've added a little bit of bling just on the stem of the guitar and also at the base where the strings are attached. Same colour, Daffodil Delight and my Wink of Stella. So I hope you guys enjoyed that today. I hope I've inspired you to create with one of your line art stamps. If you don't have this one, you can get it in my online store. Just a reminder too that every $90 that you spend from now until the end of July will earn you a $9 coupon that you can spend on your orders next month. And there is no limit to how many coupons you can earn. So there is just a couple more days left to earn those. And if you've seen something on my online store or seen something in my videos that you would really like to have, it's a great time to order those things that you were going to order anyway and get some extra freebies at the same time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next week with some more cards. Have a great week, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.